excellent gender balance in the studio right now. We'll pass from Stephen to Flo Villamino. Hi there.
Hey,
you're not talking about Women's Day just yet. We'll come to that in a couple of minutes' time. But in your look through the international press, we're starting off with those rather shocking new revelations from WikiLeaks.
It really is the leading story in many papers across the world. Let's start with The Guardian talking about this leak. It's been dubbed Vault 7, a huge leak exposing the CIA's global covert hacking program. Thousands of pages describing this very sophisticated software tools and techniques used by the CIA to break into smartphones, computers, and even internet-connected televisions.
Indeed. I mean, I never thought I'd say this, but is my TV spying on me?
Is your TV spying on you? And how safe is your cell phone, your smartphone?
Yeah.
Those
I've
are
got quite an old TV, but the smartphone's
the
a worry.
smartphone is pretty terrifying if you read this article in the New York Times that focuses on the vulnerability of smartphones. Well, this hacking program targeted, first of all, the most popular smartphone operating system. So chances are you could have been hacked, and the CIA could infect and extract data, including a user's location, audio and text messages, and covertly activate a phone's camera and microphone. It sounds pretty terrifying.
Yeah, luckily for my life isn't that interesting. We will stay in the US for our next story. After weeks and weeks of promises, Republicans have finally unveiled what they want to replace Obamacare, as it's dubbed, the Affordable Care Act. But it's got mixed reactions.
Mixed reactions, of course, according to which side of the political fence you're on. If you're a conservative, you're pretty happy with this. You can see the Wall Street Journal here calling it a historic healthcare moment. Now, this repeal and replace bill isn't perfect, according to the Wall Street Journal, but it does repair the failures of the Affordable Care Act, and it starts to correct many of what the Wall Street Journal calls the government-created dysfunctions that have bedeviled the U.S. healthcare for decades. But of course, if you're a liberal paper, you're not very impressed. This is an article in the Daily Beast. There are countless articles critical out there today. You can see they're talking about how the Obamacare cure is worse than the disease. Essentially, this is Obamacare light that's going to harm millions of Americans. According to the Daily Beast, it's a disaster.
A word that we hear bandied about so much nowadays. But your next story really is a true disaster. Last month, famine was declared in parts of South Sudan, and now it seems that other countries in Africa are also under threat.
Once again, famine hits Africa. That's what you can see on the front page of La Croix, the French Catholic paper today. Now, the UN has sounded the alarm in South Sudan, where this photo was taken. According to the UN, 100,000 people could die in the near future, and Nigeria, Somalia, and Yemen are also facing a similar threat. Now, though the situations are very different in each country, La Croix says there's a common root cause for famine in Africa, and it's conflict. And if we take a look inside La Croix, you can see they're talking about how these famines that we're talking about are man-made and avoidable, and that's why they're so tragic. And Jeune Afrique agrees with this analysis. Famine stems from an appetite for power, and you can see this tragic cartoon here. This is by a Franco-Burkinabe cartoonist, Damien Gletz, the starving child, and instead of food in his plate, you can see a Kalashnikov.
Food for thought for all of us there. Well, we're going to stay with some cartoons. You've pulled out a selection for us, marking International Women's Day.
International Women's Day on March the 8th, so 3/8. You can see it here in China Daily. Happy Women's Day, a time to say thank you to all the women in your life. Kind of a weird cartoon.
Well, 8 is a very auspicious number in Chinese
exactly.
culture, so I think that's why.
And Hispat Press, which is a Moroccan publication, also has an interesting cartoon with the you can see an 8 there, made out of life-saving buoys, trying to save this woman drowning in a sea of children, cooking a woman trying to fight for equal rights, depicted here in this cartoon.
And just time for a word about what's been happening in Canada. The wife of the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has got some criticism for a message that she posted about International Women's Day.
Let's see this post. This was on Instagram. This is Sophie Grégoire Trudeau. It's kind of a sweet post with her husband there holding hands. As we mark International Women's Day, let's celebrate the boys and men in our lives who encourage us. It's a sweet message, but a lot of people found it inappropriate. There were countless reactions on Twitter. I just pulled out one. This was one of the nicer reactions. Let's celebrate men. Well, Sophie, I think that day is called literally any other day.
Oh, we always get that comment on International Women's Day, don't we? I think it was a rather sweet post, and we're all in it together, aren't we? Thanks very much. Flo Villamino with that look through the international press.